Hi there, it's Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. This is the card that we are going to be creating. It didn't all super go to plan today, but I will take you along for the journey anyhow. I'm going to start off with two pieces of 4¼ by 5½ inch black cardstock, and I believe this is the Gina K cardstock. One piece of 80-pound Nina Solar White, and one card base, which is 110-pound Nina Solar White. So I'm just going to start off with a black piece of the paper and a Doris embossing folder. Any embossing folder would be cool. I had quite a clean out a little while ago, and so I only have a handful of embossing folders. But anyway, that was one of them. And then I have these tall letters. These letters are quite big, and it's going to say love, obviously, on the front. You could use this for an anniversary, for a wedding, for it could have been for Valentine's Day, but that was a while ago. Yeah, any card, anything in particular. And now I have a little spare piece of black, of that same black, and I have cut these out again, just the V and the E. Now guys, I did not do this in a good order. This could be a much cleaner explanation if I were organized, except for I kept doing things wrong the whole way through. So anyhow, now I'm actually going to cut them out because I want to use the piece that will be left over, not just the letters. So before, when I cut out the V and the E, I didn't end up needing those ones, but I do end up needing these ones. So I'm going to cut out the V and the E, and they're placed nicely in the center, as centered as I could kind of eyeball them. And I'm going to run the part that's left over through the embossing folder, and I'm going to put it in a spot that I kind of, like the look of what it's going to catch in the embossing folder. So I want to catch the good parts of the pattern, so to speak. Now I'm going to cut out the L and the O because I will only be needing the letters and not the leftover part from this. So I'm going to do the same thing with this and run the L and the O through the embossing folder, and again picking up parts of the pattern that I just want to catch on the L and the O to make sure that you can kind of get a decent idea that there's actually a pattern and it's not just an accident that it's got creases in it or something. As I said, this video is not very straightforward. I could have made it a lot simpler, and I did think about refilming it, but this is just the process sometimes, and it was not smooth sailing on this card. So anyway, I have the L and the O, which have the pattern on it, and then this is the leftover part, which is the V and the E. What I want to do is I want to pop these up, and I thought the easiest way, I don't know about easy, but it's what came to my head, would be to use a piece of fun foam and trace out those letters. And I'm just going to use some fine tip scissors and cut out that outline plus a little bit more so that you can't see it from the background, and then I'm going to glue that whole leftover panel onto the back of the V and the E, just so it kind of is nice and even and sturdy when it's holding up that piece of cardstock. So you can see there, and then I just need to retrim up a couple of little bits and it's good to go. Add some liquid glue onto the back, and then I'll be able to add that. It's just fun foam, and I believe I got the fun foam from AliExpress as well. I will try and link it down below if I can find it still. And that little piece on the V to add that into, and that kind of keeps it all nice and even. This is an unnecessary part in the end, but I wanted there to be a white background to this, so I am adding a piece of white cardstock to the back. As I said, it ends up being unnecessary, but it works out fine anyhow. So here's the whole panel that I have, and I'm actually going to test out some of these for you. These are the Opal Magic, so blue velvet and brushed iron, and there's also a Royal Robes, and these are from Prima, and they have two different looks. They look one way on white and one way on black. So I'm just testing them out to see what kind of look I want to go for. So you can kind of see they're super shiny. You could go for pinks, purples, blues, silvers, golds. And the reason that I'm putting these on is so that I can kind of pick up the pattern on the black embossed card a bit better. I just think it kind of brings it to life. I'm putting them on quite heavy-handed here, but when I do it, I'll be a little lighter. But also, I have like these. This was a gelato that you could use. I'm sure there are plenty of like Nuvo waxes and things, heaps of different products that you could try to get a similar effect. Maybe even a silver ink pad that you could kind of swipe over top. So I end up using the brushed iron one, and as I said, I am going quite light-handed. I just wanted to bring out that pattern ever so slightly, and add kind of another little feature to not have such plain black cardstock. So there's kind of a close-up, you can see a little bit better, and now I'm going to do the same thing to the outline of the V and the E, and you can kind of see I'm going to stop halfway with this one and show you the difference between the two. I am going super light. I'm actually putting some on my finger and then wiping it off on the paper above this, just so that I don't get any big globs of it or whatever. I just want to be really light with how much I am putting on. So that kind of gives you a good idea there. It leaves a little sort of extended black halo around the pattern from the embossing folder, which is exactly the look that I'm kind of going for. And then the foam behind it also gives it some nice dimension too. So there you go, that's that bit all finished, and you can see I have all 4 of the letters, so to speak, done. So next I'm going to move on to doing the foam for the L and the O, because I want to have those popped up as well, just so that they come off the page a little bit. So I've run these through with some black fun foam, but when you run fun foam through your die cutting machine, it does stretch it a little bit, and so I don't want any foam poking out the sides. So I am actually going to trim these up a bit and stick them on in kind of pieces. You could also probably just cut normal foam and do this. You probably don't need to run them through your die cutting machine, but anyway, that's what I did. So just trimming them up so that they fit nicely and they have lots of support behind them. So now I have some of this sort of burlap ribbon or twine, whatever you want to call it, and I am going to include this in my card by creating a bow on the front. So I am just tying a normal little bow, and then you kind of have to fuss with it a little bit to get it the way that you want it to go and kind of turn all the pieces so that they're, you know, nice and pretty for a pretty little bow. And I do want it to be kind of small because this stuff could be a little bit overwhelming if it were super big on the front of your card. So once I get it looking how I think I want it, I just cut off those longer ends, which I will end up cutting again, but that's okay. Again, here is an unnecessary part. I have a shorter part of the white cardstock to put there, and I'm just making sure the whole card goes together nicely. And then I want to put also a piece of twine. I want to wrap a piece of twine around the center. So I'm going to attach this, the VE piece of card, just to the white card, because I want to wrap the twine around the center, but have the ends of the twine coming behind, in front of the matte piece of black. I know that's confusing, and I confused myself when I was doing this. So I'm just putting down a little bit of double-sided tape to hold that twine in, the burlap in place. And when I put this first layer on, I felt like I didn't like that you could see through the kind of the black and the white so easily. So I actually end up looking at it here and thinking, yeah, I think I need 2 layers, and that way you can't see through it, and it doesn't distract quite as badly when you can see right through to the 2 different layers of cardstock underneath it. So I just add a little bit more double-sided tape. This is nice, thick, wide stuff from AliExpress, and just do exactly the same thing. What I do end up doing is squirting a little bit of liquid glue on here, just so it kind of stayed down nicely together, so you couldn't necessarily see that there's 2 layers there. You can't see it on the final card either, so that was what I was looking for. And because of the thickness of that burlap, I am just going to add some foam tape behind here. Again, no one will end up seeing the messy part of the card, so it's okay. It doesn't matter what the back looks like. And now I can mat it nicely onto that layer. I did cut the ends nice and short because I don't want it to cover up the V and the E, obviously. So just adding some liquid glue onto the back to hold it onto my 110 pound Nina Solar White card base. And it's all coming together nice and quick now. adding the L and the O, and I'm just going to add those on with a little bit of liquid adhesive too, so that I can kind of move them around. I really do just end up eyeballing everything roughly where it is. You could definitely measure to make sure they're all even and things, but I think it turned out okay as is. And then the last thing I'm going to do is add this bow, and I end up using just lots of liquid adhesive. I did think about using a hot glue gun, but I didn't have time to wait for it to heat up. That's the end of my card today, guys. I hope that you enjoyed it. I'm sorry that this wasn't a super straightforward card and it's a bit mucky, but I hope you enjoyed this card, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.